right. Hello. Welcome, my gorgeous Sonder fam. It is so good to see you this morning. I don't really see you. I promise no one's cameras are on but mine, and no one's microphones on but mine. So don't worry if there's other things going on in your background. No one else can hear you. So my name's Maya, and I am here in Denver, Colorado, where it's a little bit chilly this morning, but not too bad. And I know a lot of you are in places that um, are very chilly. So hopefully everyone's staying warm this morning, bundled up and ready to get their week set up. And I am always excited when I have the day off from my regular full-time job working in a school district when we have a holiday, so I can kind of step in and do these fun Monday morning. And I know we have some other educators who are with us here this morning who are also off. So that is absolutely lovely. So good to see you. So just a few housekeeping things if you are new to Sonder Socials. If this is your first Sonder Social or your first setup social that you've been to, just pop in the chat like me. This is my first one, just so we can kind of get an idea of how many new folks are here. And we want to make sure that we set our chat to everyone. So that little blue box there in the chat, make sure it says everyone. It has an obnoxious tendency to flip to host and panelist. And when it does that, the only people who see what you type are myself and my fabulous co-facilitator, Jen O. She is here in the chat, making sure that you all have kind of what you need. I try to keep an eye on the chat, but sometimes it gets going pretty fast if there's a lot of folks in there. So if you need something, if you need me to go back a slide, or there's something that I said that you want me to repeat, or a link that you want me to share, just let her know so that we can get that taken care of. And if you saw in the chat, speaking of that, Jennifer popped in, it is finally happening. We will see how it goes. I get to be the guinea pig. I am going to have an in-person Sonder Fam meetup on March 1st here in Colorado. We're going to have that at the Smoky Hill Library. Emails will be going out to folks who are in the Denver metro area. I'm assuming folks don't really want to travel for like a 90-minute in-person session, but you're always welcome to, right? And we're going to start these up. We're going to kind of see how it goes. I think all the facilitators at some point this year are going to host an event in their town. And then the idea is that we get things set up so we can find some other hosts, local hosts who want to kind of continue that tradition. So kind of keep an eye out. I know in quarter 2, there's probably going to be a lot more. Kelly's in Littleton, so it's not too far away if you want to come. It is on a Saturday. It is in the morning, trying to figure out the best time and the best location. I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to schedule something and people who can come can come. This first one, there won't be any charge. Again, we're still kind of trying to figure out how this works. It may be in the future that there's like a $5 charge or like something like that to offset costs. But anyway, so be on the lookout for that email because that will be super, super fun. I hope. And the other thing too is I have personally lots of stickers and washi tape and like all kinds of stuff that I'll have for folks to use. So I think that will be really fun. So the other thing, just in terms of housekeeping, is just keep in mind these community guidelines. Be kind and courteous to both yourself and others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy here. What happens here in the Sonder social stays here. No hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to have a few questions about stickers or what kind of pins don't bleed through, that kind of thing. But just make sure that the best place to ask those questions is in our app, right? Those are, then folks can give you links. So speaking of links, sometimes the links in the chat don't work if you're on a certain version of Zoom. So just know you might have to copy and paste that kind of thing to get those. If you have any customer care inquiries like journals that aren't coming, you need to change your email address, you need to change your home address, your shipping address, you need to change credit cards on file. I forgot that I had a credit card that had expired and I had lots of things that were charged to that card. And all of a sudden I started getting all these like, your transaction failed. And I was like, oh no. So if any of those things you need to update credit card information, those kinds of things, those all go to hello@silkandsonder.com. Jen and I don't have access to your account, so we can't answer any of those kinds of questions. And then ultimately, just know that these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but ultimately you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if there's ever anything that we're working on that just isn't really your jam, you don't want to do that section, you're not really in the mood to think about those things or work on those things, then feel free to do whatever you want to do. Maybe you just want to color for this hour. This is an hour that you set aside for you to be able to work on your journal. So we want that to be how you need it to be. So if the music I'm playing isn't your jam, you can always mute that. If my voice isn't and I'm not your jam, you can always mute me. We have the closed captioning available, so you can have that up there. So again, this is your hour to spend with your journal and do what you need to do. And some people spend a lot of time in the chat, kind of talking with their Sonder fam, and they don't really do much in their journal until afterward. Some people spend a lot of time in the journal and they completely ignore the chat, which is absolutely fine. So just do anything that you need to know. And I saw Catherine's asking about not seeing past socials. Those should all be in. There's a specific link that shows all of our socials. I think we almost have like 900 in there. Jen will pop that link in there for you. Sometimes the emails that they send are only for the socials for that month. So just know that the social should be there. So we can pop that link in there for you so that you can see those recordings. And just keep in mind that the recordings do not have the chat, right? So that's kind of and sometimes the music is taken out due to copyright. So just know, but it's there. It should be there for you. So this month, as you know, our theme is admiration, which has been kind of a fun theme to think about for this month of February, like who you admire, what kinds of things you admire. And I liked this little quote about when you admire something about another woman, tell her, get in the habit of lifting each other up. And I love that idea for, expressing admiration for others, right? And just kind of giving them that information. You never know how a compliment to someone can really make their day. You never really kind of know where people are. So sometimes giving that compliment might really elevate their day. So tell another woman something that you admire about her, and then we'll get in that habit of lifting each other up. So our agenda for today, we are going to do the admiration mind map. This is going to be week 3. So if you're just joining us for these weekly setups, we always do a little mind map activity to dig a little bit deeper into the theme. If you didn't do week 1 or week 2, it's no worries. You don't have to catch up, right? You can, and I'll show you what those topics were. But this week will be week 3. We'll do our rosebud thorn activity, and then we'll work on our weekly setup pages, which are pages 46 and 47 in your February journal, right? So week 8. And I always like to include these 2 little cartoons just to kind of remind folks of a couple of things. First of all, there's room for you here just as you are. We love to hear if things are going well, if you're in a great space, if things are the things that are making you happy, the things that are wonderful. But we know that life isn't always all a series of ups. We know that there's those hills and valleys. So we're here for you if things are going bad, right? If you're having problems, if there's job woes or health issues or, any of those kinds of things. The weather, I know, is kind of frustrating folks a little bit, right? So room for you here just as you are. And then the way you feel matters. No emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. So no one can tell you, oh, you shouldn't be mad about that, or, oh, you should be happy about this, right? Our feelings are our feelings, and that's just how they are. And we're here for all of it, right? We're here to feel the feels. So just keep that in mind as we go through and as you're sharing in the chat. So hopefully you have a blank page in your journal, or you can use like the scratch pad section that's on the weekly spread. It's pages 48, 49. On page 49, there's a scratch pad. Some people like to use that every week for these mind maps. And so our mind map is exploring the theme of admiration in various areas of our lives. This week, we're going to look at admiration of nature, which is kind of interesting thinking about how cold it's been, right? It's kind of sometimes hard to admire nature from afar, from inside our warm houses or our warm cars as we're driving. But I want you to really kind of think about that, because sometimes this is the time when we want to start thinking about getting outside more, or at least looking outside more, or maybe watching YouTube videos of something in nature, or dreaming about the warm days of summer. So week 1 was admiration of self, week 2 is admiration of others, and this week 3 is admiration of nature, right? And so maybe you want to, in this section, describe your favorite place in nature. Maybe you have a favorite park that you like to go to, a tree that you like to sit under, a stream that you like to go and sit by, those kinds of things. Maybe you want to personify aspects that you admire about nature, or natural systems or processes. I do, even though the winter season can be a little rough sometimes, it is always interesting to kind of think about how nature kind of puts everything to sleep for a little while with our snow and our cold, and then it kind of cycles back through. It starts to get warmer, so we can really appreciate those seasons. Maybe you want to write about using your 5 senses to describe what you admire most about nature. Maybe it's what you see, what you hear, smell, taste, and touch. I always think it's interesting after a snow how quiet everything is just outside, even though we live kind of by a busy road. When it snows, everything in the neighborhood gets very, very quiet. Um, Maybe you want to make a connection between something you admire about nature and what you admire about yourself. And maybe a good way to admire nature, maybe after the social, you want to get outside for a little bit. Obviously, you want to dress appropriately, right? There's no bad weather, only bad clothing choices. Or maybe you just want to sit by a window, sip a cup of tea, your coffee, and just relax and just kind of look. I know for me, I have the bird feeder outside, and I love to just see the birds. Love the bird feeder, obviously in winter when there's not as much to eat. So it's always kind of fun to watch that. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of time, play a little bit of music, and then we will check back in again. Feel free to share in the chat what you admire about nature, and then we'll keep moving on. All right. Thanks for that. Just a few moments just to kind of reflect on nature. I love Leslie said being 2 feet from a bald eagle. What a surprise when it was when it landed in my backyard. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I know one time we had turkeys, wild turkeys in our front yard. It was like a family of turkeys, and it was so crazy, and they were so fun until they started tearing up the yard. They were like digging for bugs. And I was like, okay, guys, like, let's not trash the yard here. We're enjoying seeing you, but let's calm down. So it's always so fun to just really kind of think about nature. I know one of the things when we've been to Iceland a few times, and I know that really, if you're thinking about nature, it's very it's very dramatic. Their landscape, their nature is very dramatic. There's like huge waterfalls and volcanoes and all of these things, but there's that kind of stuff around here too, right? I live near the Rocky Mountains, and every time I see them, I'm always um, in awe of the huge mountains, and especially right now as they're covered with snow. So it's always kind of fun to see. All right, so thanks for that few moments, just kind of digging into that idea of admiration of nature. And now we're going to jump into our rosebud thorn, giving ourselves just a little bit of time to reflect on this week that just passed. So we're on page 44 in your February journal. And we do this at the end of every week just to give ourselves a little bit of time to think about how the week went, to reflect on that week. And so our thorn is something I always like to start with a thorn. So start with the bad thing, get that out of the way, the frustrating thing, and then move on. So the thorn is a challenge, something maybe that's frustrating, something that is beyond your control, something that is just like, oh, it's just that thorn, right? And so for me, it's been both cold. It's cold, but both the temperatures outside and the virus. I've been kind of fighting a head cold for the last week or so. It's been not horrible, but it's a little obnoxious. So definitely that is a thorn. Hopefully that will be gone soon. And then the bud is something that's an emerging opportunity, something that we're excited about, something that will be fun, something that we're able to kind of keep in our sights as something coming up. So we have the exclusive event this week, a winter hygge celebration. So I'll be leading that. We're also going to talk about Silk and Saunders Day. So we're going to spend a little time with some birthday fun, also spend a little time with that idea of hygge, that Scandinavian concept of kind of warmth and snuggling kind of thing. And then our rose is something that's a highlight, something that really made us smile, something that made us happy for the week. It can be something small. It could be, just lunch with friends, those kinds of things. So for me, went to Kansas, went to Topeka, Kansas these last few days to see one of my nephews give his final performance as a senior in the musical. He's been in all his years. He's been in the musicals and the plays and all of that. So he was man in chair for The Drowsy Chaperone, which is kind of a interesting little musical. I had not heard of it or seen it before, but it was fun. And now, of course, the music is stuck in my head. So we got to see him perform on Thursday and Friday night, and it was super fun. And it's just been so fun to see him really blossom in the theater. So super, super fun to see that. So that was my rose for the week. So feel free to share your rose, bud, and thorn in the chat. I will play a little bit of music and let you work on that. And then we'll check back in here in just a few moments. All right. Thank you all for sharing those rose buds and thorns. I think it's always such an important thing to just spend a little bit of time each week reflecting on how things went for the week. And you can often see sometimes it might feel like the thorns are the only thing that happened that week. But when we really kind of look, sometimes I'll look back through my photo roll or my calendar, and you'll find that there are usually maybe small, but there are those little roses. And then the nice thing about this is you can always use this space for when you do the monthly reflections. When you reflect back on your month, you can always go back and look at each week's reflections so you can remember kind of how that month went. So thank you all for spending just a little bit of time thinking about your previous week. And now let's jump into our weekly planner. So over on page 46 and 47, week 8 of the year, I liked the idea. It's Monday, get up, drink coffee, be happy, do great things, stay positive, right? Those seem like good charges to do for the day. And I also like, this is your Monday morning reminder that you can handle whatever this week throws at you. So I would appreciate it if this week didn't throw anything too crazy. I know if you've been with me, you've seen work in our district. We had a cyber attack that we're still kind of dealing with ramifications on that. And this year has just it's kind of gotten off to a little rocky start. So while I appreciate that I can handle whatever this week throws at me, I'm hoping that it doesn't throw anything too hard or too big, right? So our first thing we're going to do is we're going to think about how we want to feel this week. And this is such a good time to really set that intention for how you want to go forth into the week, how you want to show up for people, how you want to show up for yourself. It's just that theme for the week. Some people like to use their word of the year, and they use that every week for their how they want to feel. Absolutely fine. Love that idea. Some people change it up every week, kind of depending on kind of what they know, what's coming up, how they want to, again, set themselves up for success. I loved these. One person put in tune to be in harmony, and they drew like a cute little picture there. We have courage, energetic, like a boss. I think that's a good one. Show up like a boss. I want to feel like a boss. Here's some other ones, different things people have done. Maybe it's just one word, maybe it's several words, a phrase, a mantra, an affirmation, a sticker, some sort of a picture, something you want to focus on. Maybe it's a quote that you really like, any of those kinds of things. So feel free. I see folks popping into the chat, some of their words: prepared, present, theming the word with admiration, strong, ooh, buoyant. I like that one, capable. So again, I'll play just a little quick song. We'll check back in. Feel free to pop that word of the week in the chat. All right, loved those feelings that folks are popping there into the chat. I saw Jennifer saying she needs to be intentional this week, feel intentional. She says she's not making good health choices as of late. Got to get back to better eating. Yeah, it's so easy. Isn't it easy to like slip into the bad habits or the things that maybe aren't as good for you, as opposed to doing the things that are good for you, like take so much work. It's like, that doesn't seem fair. Seems like that should be the opposite. So I love all the different beautiful, achieved. Heather went with a sticker that said, be happy, be bright, be you. grounded, all of those fun things. So love, love, love everyone with that feeling. So keep that feeling in mind now as we move on to our weekly major 3 goals. And I like this little quote that says, if the plan doesn't work, change the plan, but never the goal. So I think that's always a good thing to think about. If we have a goal and we're not achieving that goal, maybe we just need to rethink our plan, not necessarily the goal itself. Although sometimes I will say we might want to revisit that goal if we're having trouble making it and say why, what's kind of going on with that. But I think that's a good thing as we think about these weekly major 3 goals. And again, keep in mind, it really should only be about 3. I know a lot of people really like to maybe have more goals, but it's hard to focus on more than 3 things and having those 3 things be a priority. So here's some examples of things folks have done. They've categorized it into like mind, body, spirit, or home, work, and me, left brain, right brain, and no brain goals. I like that idea. That's kind of a fun way to think about it. Someone did it in terms of songs, We Are Family, Our House, and This Is Me. They kind of had those 3 goals. Move, be patient, and connect, declutter, organize, and clean. So different ways to kind of think about some of those goals. You can also repurpose this section if maybe you do monthly goals or you do yearly goals and you don't necessarily have something new each week. So maybe you want to have it be 3 of your favorite quotes, or maybe it's 3 podcasts, movies, or TV shows you want to watch. Maybe it's some seasonal reads that you want to read, ways to get excited about upcoming events, songs, topics you want to know more about, 3 recipes, create a mini bingo board. We do love a good bingo board here in the Sonder fam. Ways to embrace growth. And the other thing too, that's a good point. You can focus on one goal. You don't have to have 3. You can focus on just one goal, one thing that you want to focus on. And then I love the little one. And I think that was Alice, was that yours with the hearts? Yes, she is here with us and she has creative, capable, and carefree. And then she has little things under each one, like creative, do at least 30 minutes of crafting each day. Capable, write down an accomplishment each day. Carefree, write a worry list and then pray about each thing. So she has like these actions that she's going to do to help her meet those goals. You can see the one on the right, they have movie, show, book, and creative project that their goals, or choose novelty, release stagnation, activate learning, professional mind and body. So all different ways to really kind of think about how you want to tackle those goals and kind of see how that works. So I'll play a little bit of music here again. We'll check back in a moment and just keep moving on. All right. So hopefully you were able to come up with those three goals or repurpose this section, or you can leave it blank. That's the other thing that's always good to tell folks. And thanks for sharing for those of you who did in the chat. Just keep in mind, sometimes some of these sections we don't use every week, right? And that's okay. You can actually leave a section blank. There are no journal police. We are not going to knock on your door and ask to see your journal and give you a demerit if you didn't do it right. There's no right or wrong way to do this. This really is for what you want to use these sections for. And I love Nicole saying she's been using this section for writing affirmations, right? Absolutely great idea. Again, I like to use these weekly pages as experiments. It's only for 7 days, right? You can always next week, if you decide like, oh, that thing didn't work, you can do something different, right? Not a big deal. So the next little section over to the side of that is going to be our weekly to-dos, right? Here's the little squirrel who's success, one thing to check off my to-do list, right? Always fun to kind of check those things off their to-do list. Oh, and I see Kelly is saying one goal is to start talking to Jenny, who's the personal coach, our Sonder coach that we do, which is very cool. And a lot of people really like it. And she is really helpful sometimes with filling out pages or helping you come up with goals, your to-dos, all kind of based on all of the information that you've given her about your personality and kind of like what you want. And the more you talk to her and the more you give her, the more tailored that information is. So I love that idea. So one thing a lot of people like to do with those to-dos, sometimes I know Jen O often has like a big master to-do list for the month. And then if you have that big master to-do list, you can kind of look at those and then say like, okay, how can I plug these into the Eisenhower matrix? And this is something a lot of people like to use. And Jen is popping in some links for more information about that, which is, it can be really helpful to kind of decide, okay, is this something that's important and urgent? It has those clear deadlines. There's consequences for not hitting those deadlines. So these are things that I need to do. Maybe it's important, but it's not necessarily urgent. I don't necessarily have to do it right now. So they're easy to procrastinate on, but I want to make sure I get them done. So things like exercising or maybe meal planning or doing some networking or doing research or signing up for Sonder socials or those kinds of things. So kind of figuring out, you want to decide how you want to fit those into the week. Maybe they're things that aren't necessarily important per se, but they are urgent, right? That's kind of that busy work, things that need to be done, but it doesn't really need to be you that does it. So maybe things like laundry or watering the plants, things you could maybe delegate to someone else. And I know one of our other facilitators, she talks about, she lives alone. She doesn't necessarily have a person to delegate things to, but often she will delegate the task of making dinner to like takeout, right? So she just kind of figures out what are the things that have to be done and that she could potentially delegate out. And then those things that aren't important and aren't urgent, maybe there are those distractions that you want to delete, things you want to kind of take off your plate, like binging on a TV show or spending hours on social media, those kinds of things. So maybe you want to figure out ways to delete those. So those are some ideas for that. Some people like to make a need, want, and hope to-do list. So that these are the things I need to do. Here are the things I want to do. And here are the things I hope happen, or I hope I'm able to do, or I hope that I have time. So that's kind of a nice way to, again, kind of figure out how to divide those up. Here's some examples of some things that other folks have done. They have a to-do list with some specific things, but they have a ta-da list to keep track of those things like, ta-da, I did the thing. It wasn't necessarily on my list, but I got something done. So I want to write it down so I get credit for it, right? Then you can see some people break it up into work and home, right? You can divide that up: an AM, a PM to-do list, a school and a personal list, a need and a want list. I know one person had it, they have like necessary and delightful. Like, these are the things that are necessary that need to get done. These are the things that would be delightful. I would be delighted if I could get these things done. And I need to remember this particular quote of, I can do anything, but I can't do everything. So I often get into the habit of thinking that there's all these things I need to do, and I can do anything. I can do anything. I got to do it. And it's like, okay, I can't do anything. Something has to come off the plate. We all only have a certain amount of time, and some things take precedence over others, and sometimes things happen that we just have to kind of deal with. So there's an idea for that. Here's some other repurposing ideas for this section. Maybe you want to make a ta-da bingo. Again, that ta-da idea. Maybe you make it a to don't list, things you don't want to do. You don't want to go through the drive-through. You don't want to scroll on your phone. Any of those kinds of things. Maybe instead of to do, it's to be. So maybe it's how you want to be for the week. So be kind, be calm, be purposeful, grounded, compassionate, reflective, active, and delighted. So maybe it's that be thing, right? I like the quote about we're human beings, not human doings. So maybe that's where you are for this week and how you want to approach this particular part. So I'll just give you a little bit of time to work on that section. I'll play a little bit of music again and then check back in here in just a few moments. All right. Thank you for sharing in the chat. And I loved someone mentioned the Pomodoro technique or the idea of timing yourself. So the Pomodoro technique, you set a timer for 25 minutes and you focus specifically on that task. You do not allow yourself to multitask, which of course, is a misnomer because no one really does a good job of multitasking. We just do a lot of task switching, which they have found in a lot of studies shows that people aren't really more productive doing that. Our brains really aren't geared for that. Our brains really are geared to focus on one task. So You set that timer for 25 minutes, you focus on that thing, you'd be surprised how fast 25 minutes goes. And then I saw someone was saying they use a vinyl record because a lot of times the records, one side is about 20, 25 minutes. So you get to listen to one side of the record, you do the thing. Maybe it's, cleaning the house, maybe it's focusing on doing your lesson plans, maybe it's focused on, something along those lines. And then after that time is up, you take a 5-minute break where you let yourself just kind of do whatever. And then you can start in again. And it definitely is something that's helpful. And if you don't have like 25-minute blocks, maybe you do 10-minute blocks. Just again, that kind of idea of really focusing on that time to really do that particular task. So great idea. Thanks for that shout out. And I love the idea of vinyl, except I can't find the plug for my record player. I've been trying to look for it because I have a lot of fun vinyl. So maybe that's my 25 minutes is digging through my boxes to try to find find the plug for my record player so I can play my records. All right. Thank you all for sharing your ideas and things that you're going to pop there in that to-do list. Now we're going to go down below that to the habits and activities, or as I said one day when I was talking too fast, the habities, which people thought was kind of cute. So these are our little habities. So these are kind of like mini habits or activities, things that you're going to do. They're very specific to this week. Some people will ask, like, how is this different from the habit wheel? The habit wheel really is more for things you want to do every day this month. This really is kind of this idea of specific to the week. So if you're traveling, maybe there's some specific things you want to do that relate to travel. If you've got a meeting or something that you need to plan for, those kinds of things. And really that idea of all of these little things really are the things that add up, right? Your future is created by what you do today, not tomorrow. And all of those little things, you can see the little Legos help us get up to our goals. So it's all those little things that we repeat on a daily basis. So here's some examples of things what some folks have done. You can fill in all 5 things, right, that you want to do. You can set a goal for how many times that week you want to do it. So you can see, like, one person has unplug 7, gym 5, wake up early 6, water daily, and they just have like a goal of a gallon, get outside 7. I would not recommend having 5 things that you want to do 7 times this week. It starts to maybe get up to be a little much, and those things might be the things that would go on your habit wheel, but maybe you're experimenting with some things that will go on the habit wheel for next month. So that is absolutely fine. I like the just say no. And they've done this in the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 idea. And I like to kind of set things up that way sometimes. So it's like, delete 50 plus emails 5 times a week, declutter 4 bags of stuff 4 times, days without sugar 3, throw away expired food 2, no social media 1. I'll often have things like pack a lunch for work 4 times a week. It's really kind of fun. Yeah, Catherine's saying she likes the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, feels manageable and also forces me to prioritize what's important. So I think that is a great idea. Also, I know a lot of folks in the Sonder fam are trying to save money, working on that fiscal goal. If you unsubscribe, have one of these habits and activities be unsubscribe to 5 emails like per day, or maybe it's, do that, unsubscribe to something 5 times during the week. You'll be surprised how easy it is to not spend money when you are not getting constant reminders of sales and new products and limited time offers, right? When you're not getting that fed to you all the time, it's much easier to not do it, right? Because you just don't think about it. So try that. I've definitely been trying to work on my emails this year and get those down to something manageable. You might maybe only have one habit that you want to focus on, hydrating. Love that idea of just focusing on that. One person has dishes, laundry, and doing the daily ritual. That's nice. The one down in the bottom, see how they have kind of some of those days circled? Those are the days that they want to do the thing, that they want to do the habit or activity. Maybe you want to look back at your February intentions page or your monthly habit tracker to really determine what you want to do going forward in this week. Maybe you're not going to use this section this week. Fill it up with stickers. I like the person who just wrote nope. I think they were going to be on vacation, so they were like, this is not a section that's going to serve me this week. week. Again, this person did 4 and they put in some pretty colored little washi tape there across the bottom, which is lovely. They have eat one healthy meal, do something for me, journal, and laugh. I think that's great. And then I have the little graphic here to remind us that we have this time going into our pipeline, but sometimes things can cause time to leak out, like watching TV, being on social media, spending time worrying, and then we don't have a lot left for our self-care bucket. So figure out maybe these habits and activities are things you can do to plug up those leaks, right? So play a little bit of music and then we'll check back in and then we'll move over to page 47 and keep on going. All right, nice job thinking about what you want to put here in this section. And I love Trixie was saying, finally wrote up notes from an October meeting. Felt so good to just finally do it. How often do we put things off? For a long time, they hang over our heads. They're constantly kind of in the background. And then when we finally do it, we're like, okay, that literally took me, maybe 5 minutes. And I've been obsessing about it and thinking about it, and it's been taking up space in my head for the last 3 months, right? And then there's that meme that says, like, I did that and then I will learn nothing from this, right? So maybe we can learn something from that. And there's a lot of things that a lot of advice will say, if it's something that takes less than a minute or 2 minutes or even maybe 5 minutes, just do it, like right now. And those are good things sometimes to put on the to-do list, right? So let's hop over to this next page on page 47. And one of our facilitators, Katie, likes to call this her B-side, speaking of vinyl, right? So sometimes you listen to the B-side, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you need sections on this page, sometimes you don't. So I'm going to kind of go through each of them because everybody kind of uses this a little bit differently. So I'm going to give you all the different ideas and you can do as you see fit. I think the meal plan is one of our most heavily repurposed sections. Not because people don't plan their meals, but sometimes people use different apps and those kinds of things to do that. So here's some other ideas for things you can do. It can be a symptom health tracker, a daily debrief, daily scripture, schoolwork, homework, lesson plan reminders, a word of the day, reflections. So something they were grateful for, learned, achieved, and delighted, the glad reflections there. Maybe they color in the water drops for different types of things that they're drinking, like coffee or water or soda. Maybe they write their journal prompts and responses. Carly's saying she tracks her sugar intake here. chore list, appointments, wardrobe tracker, packing list. I love to use this for the packing list when I'm going to travel because it really helps me not overpack because I plan out what I'm going to wear for each of those days and then I only take those things. It works great. Maybe it's a checklist of things to do. Maybe it's the 7 types of rest. If you've seen this idea that sometimes we need more than just physical rest. So there's different kinds of types of rest that we can plug in there. Feels and meals, maybe what we eat and how we feel after it, or what we're feeling and then what we eat based on our feelings. Self-care plan, a weekly reflection, and I'll cycle through all of these as we kind of play the music here so you can work on it. Our mind body health plan idea is building up something for our mind and our body, doing something each day. I love the little alliteration one that they have. I like the fix one small annoyance at home that's been nagging me. Is there ever like that little thing that you're always like, I just have to fix that? Maybe that's the thing you're going to work on. A bingo board, something you did well, some ways you loved others. Self-love, self-care menu. Again, these are great to screenshot some of these if you want some ideas for how to use these different sections. Micro habits, self-esteem journal. Yeah, Bridget's saying I use it for National Day of and holidays they might be missing. Those are fun. Then the shopping list obviously can be used as a shopping list, but there's lots of different ways that you can kind of plug some of these different things in there. And then the I am loving is just whatever you are loving for the week, or maybe what's kind of been going on that you're loving. You can see different things people are loving, a few weeks without training, or how they're loving themselves by books, tea, daily rituals. And then I also just wanted to mention page 39, just because this is a good middle of the month kind of thing to do if you haven't done it yet. It's just the currently page, right? So it's what are you currently loving, feeling, enjoying, anticipating, wishing, reading, watching, and planning. So just kind of a nice, fun little check-in, kind of like the Rosebud Thorn, but maybe it's more a little more targeted for some different things. So I'll play just a little bit of music, let you work on this section, flip through these pages so you can take a screenshot if you would like. Any of them spark your interest, let us know in the chat what you're doing with those, and then we'll check back in and wrap things up. All right. I know that was a fast time to do this last page, but again, kind of think about How you're going to use this. I have been using the meal plan. I've been in this book group that I'm in. We're doing like a daily read of a book called The Pivot Year. I can't remember the name of the author, but if you Google it, I'll write it in the chat. Pivot, I think that's right. And it's very interesting. There's always kind of like little nuggets of wisdom and those kinds of things. So it's kind of like a day. It's not quite affirmations, but kind of like that. So I've been using the meal plan to kind of write the summary of what each of those days are. So that could always be fun, just to kind of keep track of that and see what's in there. So thank you all so much. I know this is always the fastest hour. I know Carly's it's like so fast, way faster than a treadmill hour at the gym, right? Um, Please feel free to share your weekly planner if you are so inclined. No pressure, but you can see all of these examples that we have come from real life Sonder fam members. So we love to get those examples to be able to show. We also want to make sure that you know about the 30-minute power session about personalized coaching, our personalized coaching that we have. Jenny, you see people talking about talking to Jenny. There's going to be a little live thing on this Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific. And then there's going to be a live demo, a raffle, a Q&A, right? So lots of things. I do know that Jen checked in with headquarters about getting those other socials on YouTube that aren't there. So they're going to work on getting those up. So hopefully those will be up again soon. And also remember our Colorado Sonder fam we are going to do is going to happen. We're going to have a real life meeting on March 1st. So keep an eye out. If you're in the Denver metro area, you should be getting an email soon to invite you to that. And Jen's popping in different links. Oh, Jen says those recorded socials are up there now. Jen's popping in the link about the Colorado, the Denver meetup there where you can RSVP with that form. Again, lots of things, lots of fun things going on this year. So glad that you were all able to spend a little bit of time with us here this morning and hope your week goes very well. See you again soon. Take care.